Upashramam Shakshad
Bhakti Yogam Adokshate
Bhakti Yogam Adokshaje
Lokasya Janato Vidvams
Lokasya Janato Vidvams
Chakre Satvata Samitam
Chakre Satvata Samitam
Anarto Pashamam Sakshad
Anarto Pashamam Shakshad
Bhakti Yogam Adokshate
Bhakti Yogam Adokshaje
Lokasya Janato Vidvams
Lokasya Janato Vidvams
Chakre Satvata Samitam
Chakre Satvata Samitam
Anarto Pashamam Sakshad
Anarto Pashamam Shakshad
Bhakti Yogam Adokshate
Bhakti Yogam Adokshaje
Lokasya Janato Vidvams
Lokasya Janato Vidvams
Chakre Satvata Samitam
Chakre Satvata Samitam Anarto Pashamam Shakshad Bhakti Yogam Adokshaje Lokasya Janato Vidvams Chakre Satvata Samhitam
Anarto Pashamam Sakshat
Narto Pashamam Shakshad
Bhakti Yogam Adokshaje
Bhakti Yogam Adokshaje
Lokasya Janato Vidvams
Lokasya Janato Vidvams
Chakra Satvata Samitam
Chakre Satvata Samhitam
Swami, Ravika Devi.
Yes. Anarto Pashamam Sakshat Bhakti Yogam Adokshaje Lokasya Janato Vidvams Chakre Satvata Samitam.
Thank you. Anybody else online that would like to try? Okay, we'll move on to word-for-word synonyms. Translation, English translation, and PowerPoint by Shri Prabhupada. Anartha,
Anartha
things which are superfluous.
Things which are superfluous
Upashamam,
Upashamam
mitigation.
Mitigation
Sakshat,
Sakshat
directly.
Directly
Bhakti Yogam,
Bhakti Yogam
the linking process of devotional service.
The linking process of devotional service
Adokshate,
Adokshaje
unto the transcendence.
Unto the transcendence
Lokasya,
Lokasya
of the general mass of men.
The general mass of men
Ajanataha,
Ajanataha
those who are unaware of.
Those who are unaware of
Vidvan,
Vidvan
the supremely learned.
Supremely learned
Chakre,
Chakre
compiled.
Compiled
Sadvata,
Sattvata
in relation with the supreme truth.
In relation with the supreme truth
Samitam,
Samitam
Vedic literature.
Vedic literature
Translation. The material miseries of the living entity, which are superfluous to him, can be directly mitigated by the linking process of devotional service. But the mass of people do not know this, and therefore the learned Vyasadeva compiled this Vedic literature, which is in relation to the supreme truth. Please read. The material miseries of the living entity,
Material miseries of the living entity
which are superfluous to him,
Which are superfluous to him
can be directly mitigated
Can be directly mitigated
by the linking process of devotional service.
By the linking process of devotional service
But the mass of people do not know this,
The mass of people do not know this
and therefore the learned Vyasadeva
Therefore the learned Vyasadeva
compiled this Vedic literature,
compiled this Vedic literature
Srila Vyasadeva sought the all-perfect personality of Godhead. This statement suggests that the complete unit of the personality of Godhead includes his parts and parcels also. He saw, therefore, his different energies, namely the internal energy, the marginal energy, and the external energy. He also saw his different planetary portions and parts of the planetary portions, namely his different incarnations also, and he specifically observed the unwanted miseries of the conditioned souls who are bewildered by the external energy. And at last, he saw the remedial measure for the conditioned souls, namely the process of devotional service. It is a great transcendental science and begins with the process of hearing and chanting the name, fame, glory, etc. of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Revival of the dormant affection of or love of Godhead does not depend on the mechanical system of hearing and chanting, but it solely and wholly depends on the causeless mercy of the Lord. When the Lord is fully satisfied with the sincere efforts of the devotee, he may endow him with his loving transcendental service. But even with the prescribed forms of hearing and chanting, there is at once mitigation of the superfluous and unwanted miseries of material existence. Such mitigation of material affection does not wait for the development of transcendental knowledge. Rather, knowledge is dependent on devotional service for the ultimate realization of the supreme truth. Om Ajnanatinanandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuramitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Vishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakaranayam Dadati Swaparantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttarapadaram Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sarajatam Sadhana Raghuvatam Vitam Sajivam Sangaitam Sadhutam Parichana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sadhana Lalita Shri Shakamitamscha He Krishna Parvasindo Dinabam Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namostute Takta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranami Hari Priye Vanchakata Pariyashta Kripa Sindhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavi Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Advaita Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Hare Krishna 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 Bhaktivedanta Swami Canto 1, Chapter 7, Text 6. Anarto Pashamam Sakshad Bhakti Yogam Adokshaji Lokasya Janato Vidvams Chakre Satanata Samhitam. The material miseries of the living entity, which are superfluous to him, can be directly mitigated by the linking process of devotional service. But the mass of people do not notice, and therefore the learned Vyasadeva compiled this Vedic literature, which is in relation to the So, in modern times now we have what is called smartphone and we have applications. We short note to apps. We download apps and then we go to the app store and then there's the rating, so many stars and comments from people using this app. And then you can go to the website. Sometimes this app is a website also. And on the website it includes comments from people. Oh, I like this app. I like their products. It's a great product. So they include comments. So in the same way, what we have here is a comment about the Srimad Bhagavatam, and it became to a point of being included as the book itself. Like the website would talk about the product, but also include comments about. Because this was not the original Bhagavatam. This was not compiled by Vyasadeva. This first canto. This first canto was a modification of the original. It is fluid, it is not static. It's not like Srimad Bhagavatam, you say it's 18,000 verses. In fact, if you were to count them all, you wouldn't probably come to the exact 18,000 number. Well, according to some people, maybe some people would count 18,001, or someone would count 17,998. Yes.
So who was the first candle compiled by?
Later addition. Whoever came later, one of the sages, maybe Shumaka Rishi, someone else. Because Sutta Goswami is speaking now. And he was there maybe on the bank of the Ganges listening to Shukadeva Goswami. Now they're retelling. And this is this first canto. Now it became the first canto. Before the first canto was the second canto we started with.
May I just
Yeah.
offer a
Correction?
No, I don't know. I mean, I'm just interested in your. But you know, if it's possible for Srila Vyasadeva to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his entirety, as this verse describes, including the process that the purport describes, along with the whole process of devotional service, he's basically seeing everything and anything.
So you can see
It's certainly possible for him to have perceived the contents of the first canto too.
Yes, also, well, of course, it is already included.
So it could, unless there's some evidence otherwise, you know.
No, I'm not saying he doesn't know, but yeah, not that you.
Oh, I was just going to say, I was in a class and somebody said in other universes there could be more or less verses.
Yeah, of course, that's what I was going to get at. It is not a static thing, it's ecstatic. Love about it. It is not limited to 18,000 verses. The proof of this, before the Bhagavatam would fit in one book, it was only the Sanskrit. And not even the Roman transliteration. It was only the Sanskrit text itself. Right? No translation, no purport. But now Srila Prabhupada, being an Acharya, being an empowered incarnation, he has expanded on the Srimad Bhagavatam. Notice it doesn't fit in one book, we need several volumes. And now we have a word for word, synonyms. We have an English translation.
see, I don't want to say Prabhupada said, I've heard it said
Yes.
that our version of the Bhagavatam is smaller compared to what might be found in the heavenly kingdom.
Yes, I've heard this
Yes.
also.
So, and it's also the case that the Bhagavatam is contained within the 4 seed verses in the second canto.
Yeah. Also.
So, like it's, macro, micro,
Yeah.
and so when we're trying to date stuff,
I don't put a date.
anyway, what's the point?
I'm not putting a date.
Yeah. But we're putting a timeline, I should say.
A little bit.
And then what's the relevance of it? That's the
No, I'm not putting a strict timeline.
But it's generally accepted that the Bhagavatam became apparent to the public about 1,000 years ago. The first reference is by a great scholar, so it should, there is no reference up until 1,000 years ago to any
that's an
publication of
academic.
Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
That's an academic.
Please. And
Yeah, I wasn't able to read my Ram's comment.
Oh, that's sad.
What did he say?
He said it might be irrelevant to discuss a timeline, basically.
No, I think it's very interesting. It's very interesting.
See, I'm not giving a strict timeline. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Lord Chaitanya, I think it was Vallabha, came to him and presented his Bhagavatam, and Lord Chaitanya rejected it because he did not acknowledge the commentary by Sridhar Swami, the original commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, according to Lord Chaitanya. So there's all these commentaries, and of course Srila Prabhupada's, all his Bhagavatams and all his books are purports are written based on the commentaries of the previous acharyas, which is really important thing to know. So to accept it without accepting, by the example of Lord Chaitanya rejecting Vallabha, who later became Vallabhacharya, he actually rejected because he did not take reference from Sridhar Swami. So we have to take reference from the previous acharyas, including Srila Prabhupada, to understand and make the Srimad Bhagavatam pertinent.
Yes.
Absolutely correct.
Yes, so that's my point today. I'm saying we are referencing now to the comment of Sutta Goswami. This is what we're reading right now. This is the comment of Sutta Goswami, and I'm presenting a timeline that is not controversial, that 1,000 years sacrifice, roughly 5,000 years ago, sometime after this speaking of Sutta Goswami. I'm not giving anything academic that could be controversial.
No.
I'm just saying, just for the sake of discussion, I'm not saying this is the most, it's just a tiny footnote that I was taking so much time to
It's
discuss.
an interesting discussion.
Yes.
So my point was somewhat missed because
Yeah.
the context of my point was missed by everyone else.
Yeah.
And it's a different point than what Radhika was making. I won't even bother saying because we can move on. I was not going where Radhika was going with her academic analysis, but I was just talking about the 4-verse thing versus the cosmo, the demigod version, and it wasn't to say that it was.
No, I agree with you. It's not really relevant, and it's not my subject matter. It's not really relevant to give a strict timeline. It's not my point here. It's just that we know already some time ago, long ago, some thousands of years ago, Srila Goswami sat with Maharaj Parishad. This is what we know from our Bhagavatam, the version of the Bhagavatam that we have. It was first spoken there, then, as Maharaj Parishad was facing death, and he asked what would be the function, the best activity of someone who was about to die. So then, from this, Srila Goswami was inspired to, with his racontage, to recall all of that what he knows about spiritual devotional services.
I was just going to say with the Vallabhacharya storyline, it's because he was proud. He said that his commentary was better than Sridhar Swami. chastised him. And
Yeah.
also, we know that Srila Prabhupada takes commentaries from a lot of the great
Yeah,
acharyas,
yeah, for sure.
Vishwanath Chakra, but
Yeah,
he takes
well,
his
we see,
commentaries.
we see those names quoted time and time again. Sridhar Swami, Jiva Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti a lot.
Yes.
So he is definitely very respectful himself. All great acharyas are very humble, and they're very, very respectful of those who were there before them. So Srila Prabhupada is no exception to this mentality of being very, very and
Can you repeat her comment?
yeah, the comment was saying that mostly why Lord Chaitanya rejected Vallabhacharya's comment because he was proud and he said his commentary was better than Sridhar Swami's comment. So that's the comment.
I have one more point.
Yeah.
Ramanujacharya never quoted Srimad Bhagavatam. Never.
Okay.
Why? Because he said it wasn't available at the time. He only quoted the Vishnu Purana that was available. So there is some relevance to the timeline. We don't need to discuss it in Srimad Bhagavatam. It's a very important topic.
So I missed the word.
A great deal Ramanuja never mentioned.
So why did it in one word was
They said it wasn't available at the time.
I tend to disagree, well, not disagree necessarily, but I tend to, because Srila Prabhupada mentioned all our acharyas have also given a commentary when it came to Shankaracharya and his commentary. It's also mentioned that our acharyas, and he mentions Ramanuja and Madhava, also have their.
Just do the research and you find some quotes
anyway,
from him.
unbeknownst
Just do the research.
to me I was to open the channel.
Well, actually, the part that I was wanting to avoid was Radhika's line.
That's true.
She always goes with this academic thing, right?
That's
And so
very
now
true.
gets the can of worms I gotta open.
What was that point?
Yeah, well,
That's a very good point. That's very good point. Goes without saying.
okay. I opened the can of worms. Sorry. So let's move on. So Sutta Goswami is speaking here, and it's a nice. It's one. We have many beautiful verses from the second second chapter, the Divinity and Devotional Service, the second chapter of the first canto, and in a subtle way, this text 6 of chapter 7. Again, this is not my speculation, but a feeling that I have. It's a subtle reference. You might disagree, that's okay. But it's not such a big stretch of the imagination. It seems to be a subtle reference to text 6 of the second chapter. Because this is like the second chapter has lots of. We like Jagannatha Prabhu likes to quote before he speaks on the Bhagavatam. He likes to quote let's first offer obeisance to the altar, the goddess of learning, Saraswati, etc. So those are seen as nice introduction, right? Before we start speaking. So this is also a nice kind of introduction to this Sukha Samhita Bhagavatam. And it refers to we can reference to the verse 6, to the second chapter, because we have the name of God again, Adokshaji. Savai Promsam Parodharmo Yato Bhakti Adokshaji. Adokshaji. Aititya Pratyata Yayama Sukhasati. So this Adokshaja is an interesting concept. Because we like to from birth we gather knowledge with our senses. We see. Aksha, eyes, to see is very important. One could see, wow, senses, the working senses. But Krishna is the basis of all of this. He's giving us this material world. This Prakriti, and it is the basis of creation. He is the creator, primary creator. So he is beyond reach, being reached from our material senses. So this is the concept that is brought here. And it's so beautiful. Everything is so perfect about Sanskrit. Bhakti Yogam Adokshaya. Can you feel the perfection in this? Just those 3 words. Bhakti Yogam Adokshaya. So much is there. The linking process. So there's love. We direct our love toward God, and this is our link. This is the link. And this link is what put a cessation to our ontological despair, our lack of aim. We might not know why do I exist. But now, as you engage in devotional service, we have an aim in your life. You can focus on the target. There's the archer. He has an arrow. He is aiming his arrow to the target. So the arrow is our love. The target is adokshaja. The process of the bow archery is devotional service. So we learned that people don't know this thing. We didn't know before. We were the devotees. Now we know, we've learned. Because the mercy of great personalities, in this instance, Srila Vyasadeva has compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam so that we learn what is the real artha, the real aim in life, the real wealth. And there is this expression, Pancha Purushartham. Panchamas, the 5th one. We all know about 4. The Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. So this is 4. Right? And the Panchama is Bhakti. It's all related. We're all giving subtle reference with Artha. Anartha. Before Anartha, there is Artha. So, and we could discuss so much this word anartha. So here, Srila Prabhupada has decided, he has to take a decision. What will I focus upon with this word anartha? Is it something superfluous? Something superfluous. Superfluous is something that is seen as unnecessary, especially if you have too much of something, a surplus of something. A surplus, superfluous. And in this case, what we feel to him is superfluous to him. So what the conditioned soul feel we have too much of course, it's miseries, anxieties, short on time, have to get to work, pay the mortgage, pay your rent, buy food. So it's suffering, and you grow old, and then you suffer aches and pain, or you work in a factory. Repetitive motion, and the elbow is hurting, the back is hurting, there's toxic fumes, now your lungs are destroyed. Right? Those are all anarthas. It's anarthas because to the soul, all of this is unnecessary. So it is from the point of view of the suffering soul. There's so much of suffering, it seems as unnecessary. All this suffering But we could discuss that this is necessary because this is according to the laws of karma. Right? You commit some mistake, you engage in adharma, you do the wrong things. So there's repercussions in this life and the next life. So there are miseries. And those miseries are necessary for us to learn our lessons. But of course, for the person on the receiving end, it seems that it's too much of this suffering. The suffering is too much. Interesting point being discussed here in the purport. Very important point that this is not a mechanical process like Ashtanga Yoga is more mechanical. Although it is said that still, with this process, mystic yoga process, you still need some amount of bhakti, some amount of devotion. Little amount. It's like pure gold, 24 karat gold, very soft, so they add a little bit of copper, silver and copper, to make it a little stronger. So 22 karat gold. The best gold for jewelry, the highest quality. They stop at 22 carats, so it has some strength, right? It's not too soft. So in the same way that you have to mix in a little bit of bhakti in your Ashtanga Yoga. But it's mainly a mechanical process that you will drill the breath, you control the breath very strictly. You control the way you sit very strictly. And this will carry you just so far as to realize the presence of the Lord in your heart. But this devotional service, process of devotional service, is not in the same way. That it's not that you just sit down and hear. You go to satsanga, or you engage in singing, in kirtan, or japa, personal meditation, and the Mahamantra. It's not automatically you will succeed. That's what we see here. It's not a mechanical system of hearing and chanting, but it's solely and wholly depends on the causelessness of the Lord. So this is an important point about devotional service. That at least you try the best you can with sincerity. You make sacrifices and then you hope that you will get Krishna's mercy. Because then when you have Krishna's mercy, then you really attain. It's a gift, it's his grant. Granted unto you, you receive a spiritual grant. Bhakti Yoga. So Bhakti Yoga is a divine gift. It's not something you can just go to the store and purchase or grab or steal or go into the motion and expect to have it. So this is a very important point. Because it's something not material. It cannot be a business deal. It cannot be like putting a key in your car ignition and starting the engine. Everything is mechanical about it. It will work. You can drive. Doesn't matter what is your heart. You can drive to a bank to steal or deposit money to the bank or commit a crime, bank heist, a hold up. The car will function for you. There's no consciousness of the mechanical part of the car. Whatever you want to do with your car, you can do. But in devotional service, everything has to be in place on the subtle level. Your heart has to be at the right place. You have to really have some respect, humility, all those unseen abstract things have to be strict with myself. Every time I encountered a word I did not know what that was or I was not quite sure what it means, I would research it. So this
Yes.
is. Go ahead, Radhika.
I want you to tell us what is the meaning of adoption, please.
So this adoption is quite
That's
complex.
the most important.
Well, we can say yes, very complex word, but simply, very quite simply, it's not reachable with our senses, with our material senses.
Exactly.
These are all
That
things.
is the point. That should be emphasized. You cannot know God by your material senses.
Yeah, we cannot. Yeah,
That is the point of bhakti.
yeah. Because, see, above adoption, there's 5 classification of knowledge, of learning. One is adopshaja, and past adopshaja is aprakrita. It's totally, and it's again, it's a very interesting word, aprakrita. So it's a totally transcendental. You could say literally, not of this world. This knowledge is not of this world.
Very good point.
Mm. And they're saying adopshaja, not aprakrita, because it will come a little later. We're still at the beginning. The technical terms, I don't recall exactly, but I took some notes. So, pratyaksha. We know this word from Bhagavad Gita, pratyaksha bhagavan dharyam susukam kartum avyam. It can be directly perceived, but directly perceived with spiritual senses, spiritualized, purified senses. Because pratyaksha is just our state now, that you just start to learn empirical knowledge, experiments in the lab from your senses. So it's limited. Then you have paroksha, aparoksha, adokshaja, and aprakrita. So those are the 5 types of learning.
Beautiful.
So adokshaja now, you learn what is not directly, what is not accessible to your senses. So it's higher, and the highest aprakrita. So basically, same category as aprakrita, but it goes a little further. Technically, it's
The
called.
Turiya.
Yes.
Fourth.
Because we're still at the beginning, so by saying adoshaji, we see that we can still progress a little further. We can further progress. We will progress now. There's many more cantos to come, and we will go to the aprakrita. It's 10 cantos will be fully aprakrita. Totally spiritual. So another interesting word here is anartha. So an anartha upashana. We know shama from the quality of the Brahman is peacefulness. So upashana, it's like the younger brother of shama. It's the same idea. So you become quiet. It becomes, because we're disturbed by all of our anarthas. They create disturbance in our life. They make us not peaceful. They disturb our peace. So this anartha upashana is anartha rupta. There's a word like this, anartha rupta. It means you become free from all that is useless. Because that we know this anartha also means what is useless, not really useful for us, what creates disappointment in our life. Because we search this economic development, this down art, and then we're disappointed with all this economic development. We don't own things. We have so many things that those things they end up owning us. You want to move somewhere from where you are now, and then you realize, oh, I've accumulated so many things since I'm here. I moved here with 1 truck, now I need 2 trucks to move all of my possessions. Reverses in life, or the evil part of your It's a position to pray. We see that in Christianity. Someone is on his knees. It's a form of showing humility, you know, standing tall and proud. You go down on your knees. We do this at the first step of offering obeisances. You go down on your knees and then you further bow down. So Adokshaja brings us down to our knees because we're defeated trying to understand the absolute truth through our direct perception of the senses. This is what Adokshaja does. And if we are lucky enough, pious enough, then when you're down on your knees, then you can offer prayers to God, which is vandana, which is a bona fide process of devotional service. So from that position, we can offer prayers and thereby engage in devotional service. Bhakti yoga, the linking process. The linking process, it is a link we can revive this lost connection. Sometimes on your phone, oh, I lost connection, I don't have reception. But with Krishna, with prayer, with devotional service, we can re-establish the connection. So Vyasadeva is very kind to us. He is a pure devotee. He's an empowered incarnation. And he knows what his aim in life is. He doesn't have any anarchies. He knows. He doesn't have any ontological despair. He was kind of a little bit in that state, yes, before Narada came, yes. He was kind of dejected because he was talking about Artha. Karma Kanda, he really discussed Karma Kanda. Discussed the Vedas and his spiritual master said, well, that was quite unreasonable on your part to talk like this, encourage people to engage in sacrifice or elevation to higher planetary systems. He said, it's quite unreasonable on your part to have done this. Come on, you know better. And gave him a little shake, you know. Because he knows the absolute truth, he knows the supreme truth. I was asking him to discuss further, to put an end of all this anartha. What is creating so much of feeling of dissatisfaction. And you feel it's too much. There's too much problem in my life. It is superfluous. This is too much of it. But it's also part of the plan. We feel it's too much of it, but that's how it is. That's the nature of this world. It's not our permanent residence. It's unnatural for us to be here. In fact, because we're resident of the spiritual world. So, Srila Vyasadeva, he compiled this Vedic literature, which is in relation to the supreme truth. Sarvata. It's for the Sarvata, the pure devotees, and Sarvata is the ultimate truth. And this ultimate truth, the most beautiful aspect of this ultimate truth is Bhakti Yoga. Because with this, we are linked with our source, where we come from. So it's beautiful. Hare Krishna, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Bhagavatam ki jai. Anything one would like to say? Mataji?
Yes, it is necessary knowledge and detachment from material things so that we can ultimately also face to face have Brahma